Well, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome, and good evening, and wherever you are in the world, this beautiful big world. It's episode 164 of Two Chaps, Many Cultures. First time live on Instagram, and the Instagram people get to see the little green room stuff that went in the background to start this off. So, you know, it's like how we make the sausage. And we're including Instagram as a matter of inclusion. And of course, one aspect of inclusion is faith and spirituality. The people around us, that might practice certain faiths, and how to include those practices in the workplace or in society and respect them. And we've got a very, very special guest. I mean, a very special guest. All guests are special, of course. Stick around. Yes, welcome back to the show, The Business of Culture and the Culture of Business. How are you today, pal?
I'm splendid, and I want to give a quick shout out because I'm dating myself. Those of you who follow me on social media may have seen it this morning. Rest in peace, Lou Ottens, the man who invented the compact cassette. Those of us old enough to remember, you guys know what that is, and formed the youth of many through his invention. So rest in peace, good man. You did a wonderful thing to the world, at least to my world.
Now, did he also invent the very important aspect of rewinding the tape with a pencil, which I saw on that?
I'm not sure if that was the intention, but the generations of people know what the combination of a number 2 pencil and a cassette tape means. What they do. That's actually an age test. You give a 12-year or 14-year-old today these 2 items, and they look at you like, what is this?
The joys of a mixtape. Well, welcome everybody. Yes, today we are talking about spirituality, religion, and the part it plays in our society, of course, and more importantly, the diversity we find within it and the people around us and how they practice those faiths. And, of course, we could talk about it all day as to white guys sitting here in our bloviating and as we always like to do is we like to learn, and when we learn we go to the right teachers, and there is no better teacher when it comes to inclusiveness and knowledge about different faith practices and inclusion of those different faith practices than our guest today, the wonderful, there's no other way to describe her, Soumaya Khalifa. Assalamu alaikum, Soumaya.
Wa alaikum assalam. Greetings of peace to all. It's so wonderful to be with both of you. My gosh, being on your show is such an honor. Whoa, I feel very special. Thank you.
Who told you that?
Yeah, I'm just been following you and learning from you and all your guests. It's incredible. Just
well,
the amount of
we should be reprimanded for not having you on sooner.
Oh, no. It's just the right time. You bring so much knowledge, and all your guests and your creativity on the different topics that you bring on is just absolutely stunning. So congratulations to both of you. Job well done.
And
well, thank you.
I want to make a remark that I think is important for those of you watching this on social media, because that's where we're streaming. The announcement for this episode got likes and comments from people who usually don't like and comment on our stuff because maybe that's not within their scope of interest. So no judgment there. The fact, though, that people that you wouldn't expect to be interested in this particular episode are in fact interested means that Ms. Khalifa here has a scope that goes far beyond what you might expect. So Brett was not exaggerating when he said the one and only, the one with the experience and the foundation to talk about inclusiveness around faith and spirituality. I'm very excited to have you talk about this, Soumaya.
Thank you, Christian.
And you know, one of the things is that if you follow someone like Soumaya, There is not only the faith that she follows, but also the engagement, the interaction, the sharing, the transfer of knowledge that happens between all different faiths, right? I think that you really practice, you walk the talk of interfaith understanding and inclusiveness, Soumaya. So talk to us a little bit about that, and what has driven you to do that work alongside with priests and rabbis and other spiritual leaders in the world. It's been wonderful to watch.
I think it's been my lifelong journey, and it started when I was about 3 or 4 years old. I was born in Alexandria, Egypt, and I went to a French Catholic school. And the school was run by nuns, and they had a chapel, and we used to have like chapel services every single day. And as a little child in pre-kindergarten, I would go into the chapel because I was curious. And I would go home to my mom and say, hey, I went to the chapel today, and they sang, it was so beautiful, all the class and so on and so forth. And my mom would look at me and she says, you're a Muslim. You really don't need to be going to a chapel. So, but I liked it. It was a good experience. And we sang to God. So we struck a deal. I struck a deal with my mom saying that when I'm at school, I'll go to the chapel and sing to God. But at home, I will pray as a Muslim to God. And so that was a deal that was struck. And I think that experience at a very early age carried me through my whole life until now. I do have a passion of bringing people together, both in communities as well as in the workplace. And that's really, really important for all of us to do.
Absolutely.
That's a beautiful story. Now, in Egypt, when you grew up, was there an awareness of togetherness of faiths, or was it a little bit split apart in separate camps?
The way I remember it, it was just one family where people were Christians or Muslims, and those are the two predominant religions in Egypt at the time. And they were neighbors, they were co-workers, they would exchange food, like taking food to our neighbor downstairs who was Christian, and they will send us food. We will, wish them happy holidays, and they would know when Ramadan is and do the same. We would visit them, and it was just like we were just one family. And so that religious differences didn't really, wasn't pronounced at all. We just knew they were friends and like family, and they knew us well and we knew them well, and we grew up together. That's how it was.
Is it still that way?
I believe that polarization is all over the world nowadays, and when there are political differences, or when there is a lack of resources or a struggle for power, people tend to look at themselves and find out how are they different? What reason do I have to hate a person, etc. And unfortunately, all over the world, we see that being used, whether it's religion or political views, or North versus South, or East versus West. And here in Atlanta, Georgia, and in Georgia, we make fun of people down the street in Alabama, right? So it's always us and them when there is limited resources or struggle for power.
Us versus them. That makes it so much easier to feel good about yourself despite our own baggage, right? Because we have someone to point fingers to. Yeah. So how do you, in your work, how does your work help people understand the commonalities between the different spiritual practices, or the beauty and the diversity of those different practices? How do you do that? How does your educational approach help people get over that othernessing? I don't know. Well, you know what I mean.
Right. So, and I think I do that in two spheres. And the first sphere is in the workplace. And when we look at the workplace, and if organizations and employers really want to make a difference, we have this whole thing about social justice, and ever since George Floyd, and this heightened awareness of employers and big organizations putting out statement upon statement. They really have a lot of power to make change happen in communities and in the world. Where do we as individuals meet people who are different than we are? They say that the most segregated hour in the United States is Sunday morning, because everybody worships in their own church. Well, employers have this power of bringing diverse people together under their roof and creating an environment where everybody feels valued. And in the diversity, equity, and inclusion world, we talk about psychological safety. We talk about belonging. And for people to come into work, we tell them, come in as you are. We want you. We want your full self here. But what we have seen in the past is that we want your whole self here, but leave your religion at the door. While religion is protected in the U.S. under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, where employers cannot discriminate, but they're also required to provide reasonable accommodation. So employers of choice, employers that really want to go that extra mile, need to make sure that they are creating a culture of inclusiveness, of bringing people together. And when we are in the workplace, and every religion practice in the whole wide world is practiced right here in the United States. And our workplaces, our religious diversity in this country reflects that. So when we go into our workplace and we work on teams with somebody who's a Muslim or who's Jewish or who's Hindu or a Baha'i or a Sikh or what have you, or people of no faith at all, and they are part of that conversation as well. And we make them feel like we want you here, all of you, and we respect you, and we want to leverage our workplace to make change happen. And a lot of times people say that when you want change to happen, you want to hit the pocketbook, right? Because when people see that, then they want to do something about it. So this is something that is a priority for our businesses. Then change will happen in our societies.
I had a thought about this morning as I woke up. I sometimes come across some thought processes when I wake up, that this is actually a wellness, a productivity issue, because many people find a faith practice as something that is very spiritual, but also refreshing for them in terms of their brain bandwidth and their physical and spiritual health, right? So wouldn't you want, as an owner of a business, the people that are in your business to be as healthy and well as they possibly can? And if faith leads them in some way down to that path of wellness, then they're going to be more productive. So again, speaking to your point there, this is really just it's also a bottom line issue.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
It's about attracting, retaining, and developing talent. And when we make it okay in the workplace to be who you are and not worry about, hey, I'm gonna go to work, I practice Islam and I cover my hair, and if I am in a workplace, and for me to be appreciated, I have to assimilate. I cannot cover my hair this way. I cannot take time off, or observing Passover or Yom Kippur, or all the different faith traditions, and I'm going to have to hide part of my identity. And many people, their religion, their faith tradition, their spirituality is what makes them tick. It's their moral compass. And having to abandon that at the door is a missed opportunity for employers. A lot of times we see organizations that have certain values, treating people with dignity and respect, but if they tie this to their employees' belief system and how that correlates, just think about how the values and the performance of those organizations will really be impacted positively. As you said, Brett, it will impact their bottom line.
Here's a question that I have come across by those who challenge the idea of faith diversity or inclusiveness, and the argument that's often made, especially in a more Western / Christian context, is, well, what if these deep structure cultural values manifest themselves in the surface culture behavior that goes against the grain of society? So let's say women who are completely covering their faces, they're wearing burqas or whatever, I don't know, whatever behavioral practice a faith will carry out into the visible realm, right? It doesn't have to be Islam, could be any religion. Whenever there's a majority culture saying, well, this is not okay with my culture. How come they are allowed to do this? Or like Hasim women who are married who will not shake my hand because I'm a goyim and she's married. All these behaviors that may strike people as, oh, this is not normal around here, and they try to regulate this or restrict these behaviors that are a result of deep structured cultural values. What do you respond to that objection?
Sure. Well, everybody in an organization or in a workplace, they're there for a reason. And the reason is to drive the business, to make sure that that organization, that business, that nonprofit is the best that it can be. And everybody needs to do their part of it to drive those results. When we talk about bringing religion into the workplace, it does not mean come in and promote your religion and don't do the work. There needs to be policies and guidelines on how to do that. The conversations would be around people asking each other, what are, I see that you're, for instance, for a Muslim, I see that you are not eating lunch with us anymore. What's going on here? And well, they will say, I'm fasting. And then what does that mean? Help me understand what is that like? Or if somebody, a Hindu who's observing a certain holiday, and maybe their fellow employees see coloring on their faces or what have you, understanding what that is, that brings people closer together. Now, when we have parameters, we don't want evangelicals or anybody to promote a faith within the work community, but it's there to promote understanding, promote closer ties, because when we go into a workplace, when one goes into a workplace and they feel like, hey, my coworkers really care about me, they understand what's going on with me right now. My environment is inclusive. When you go to the company's webpage, you see people who look like me. That becomes a business case for being able to recruit people as diverse as the people that we have. Do organizations have a calendar that has all the holidays on it? Or is it an organization, if we talk within a US context, that is a Christmas organization, right? So, so there's just so many things that could be done with bringing inclusiveness in the workplace, and religion is an important part of it. There is a understanding or a misperception or a perception that people are becoming less religious. And according to the Pew Research, that they found that between 2020 and 2050 in the world, there will be about a 30% increase of people who associate with a religious tradition. And so that's really huge. That's really huge.
Yeah, so it's not going away, no doubt. So you mentioned fasting. So this is, and we wanted to get together and talk about the upcoming tradition of Ramadan for Islam. And so just tell us in terms of the practice and just a little bit of background, and then perhaps, again, I think that idea of having a calendar, right? Knowing it's coming up for your colleagues in the workplace would be an exciting time to kind of engage and ask and things like that. And also just wanted to ask in terms of that question, and I've had people do this where we've had mutual friends that have done this. And so I'm not Muslim, but I would like to in kind of in standing with you, I want to follow at least maybe can I practice some of this? Is it respectful to do so? And so on and so forth. So I know there's a lot of things in those questions. So if you're going to an employer's place and everybody wants to know about Ramadan and what their Muslim colleagues are going to be doing in that term, what is the actual tangible practice of it? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you for that question. So Ramadan is a lunar month in the Islamic calendar. And because the Islamic calendar follows the lunar cycle, every month is cited So Muslims, even though they have an idea when the new moon is going to be born, they still want to go out there and sight the moon. So people are sitting on pins and needles, Muslims all over the world, to wait for the moon sighting to determine whether tomorrow is going to be Ramadan or is it going to be the following day. And so when Ramadan starts, it starts in the sunset time the day before, and the day is sunset to sunset for the Muslims, as it is for our Jewish brothers and sisters. And so when Ramadan is declared to start, then the Muslims will do their 5 daily prayers. But on top of that, there is a very special prayer that is done every single evening during Ramadan. Muslims believe that Ramadan is a celebration of the Quran, because they believe the Quran was revealed in the month of Ramadan. And so on top of the 5 daily prayers, they do another prayer where they will recite 1/30th of the Quran every single night. And so that makes them stay up late. And then they make the intention that they will be fasting the month of Ramadan. And the fast is a total fast from dawn to sunset. No water, no food. Those who have the habit of smoking, there's no smoking, no marital relationships during the fasting hours. And so it means that a person wakes up very early in the morning to have a morning meal before the dawn, the sun starts to come out. And then they abstain from food and drink and all the other things I mentioned until it's sunset time. And when it's sunset time, the family comes together and usually break their fast with a date. That is a prophetic tradition. And Muslims all over the world, the 1.7 billion Muslims, do that all over the world. And so that is the day for the fast. So what does that mean for us in the workplace? Well, first of all, to realize that our Muslim co-workers are fasting. And what that means is that if we, pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, when we are together in the workplace, that means if we have lunch meetings or we're going out for something or other, just to be aware that the Muslims might not be eating that day. It also means that for manufacturers and people who work outside, the employers need to know what are the safety repercussions for that when somebody does not drink water all the time, especially with Ramadan now, this year starting in April and ending in May. So it's April 13th in 2021 to about May 13th. So what does that mean? What accommodations will they make? I know that not too long ago, I consulted for a major retail store and chain actually, and they had Muslim employees who were stocking shelves, who were moving things from the trucks into the stores, and they did not know what kind of reasonable accommodations. And a lot of times when people hear supervisors, managers, organizations hear something about religion, they get so scared. They just freeze, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them would say, whatever it is that you want, just take it. You want take 2 breaks to do your prayers, go for it. But when they are armed with the knowledge and what are some of the reasonable accommodations that maybe the Muslims need to do their prayers, their afternoon prayers or their late afternoon prayers within that time frame, then they would work with them to align their breaks with the time for prayers, as an example. So with that particular situation, one of the reasonable accommodations was to provide water bottles and dates in the break room. And just that, they sell the water and they sell the dates in their stores, and providing that in the break rooms, I can tell you what a big difference that made in the relationships between them and their employees. And that little gesture made the employees feel, hey, my employer really cares about me. Another thing about Ramadan is people who are like Sunday Christians or just Christmas Christians. We have those two in the Muslim community, where they're only Ramadan Muslims or just celebration Muslims. And they tend to become more religious during the month of Ramadan, some of them, and they want to do their prayers, etc. So it is a month for spiritual recharging. It's a month for community because pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, people get together to celebrate. Now, Brett, your question about if a colleague says, hey, it's Ramadan and I want to be fasting with you, that's really nice. It shows support. And fasting is not only for Muslims. We have Jewish traditions where the Jewish folks fast Yom Kippur, and I think their fasting is much harder because they fast for a 24-hour period. And we have Lent that's going on right now for some Christian traditions where they give up some food. And I was doing some research, and in early Christianity, they also fasted from dawn to sunset. So fasting is not just particular to Muslims, it's practiced by many other faith traditions.
Yeah, from what I've heard, those who actually practice it more diligently, they experience somewhat of a spiritual awakening because the deprivation of nutrition has the body respond in a certain way, and it creates, I guess, a better or a stronger awareness of one's connection to the higher power. I had an example that was both pleasant, I think, and also a little revealing and concerning when I conducted a group training several years ago in Germany for a mixed team. And Germany, as most of you know, has had a long relationship with Islam. I would say somewhere between 5 and 10% of the overall population in Germany confess to be Muslim. And this was a training room with, let's say, 18, 20 people, and this was during the month of Ramadan. And as we went around the room and doing instructions, there was this one gentleman from, I forgot which country, I want to say Jordan, might have been Syria. It was obvious that he was from a Muslim country, and I asked him, are you practicing Muslim? He said, yes. I said, are you observing Ramadan this month? That's when all the other heads in the room started turning to each other. How would he know that? Why is this relevant? And he said, yes, sir, I am. And I said, hey, let me know if you need extra breaks or if there's something that you want us to do differently, if you want us to remove the cookies so you don't feel tempted, or whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable and participate in a certain way, let me know and we'll take care of it. And to me, this was a learned practice, but I noticed that the company who hired me to do the training, they were like starting to chit chat, and their body language gave away that they internally had never thought about this. This is a gentleman that they have been working with for I don't know how long, and this was the first time this was discussed in an open forum. Does this happen a lot? Do you see this happening as well, Soumaya?
Absolutely, absolutely. Christian, let me ask you, how do you think this particular person felt when you acknowledged his religious observance and wanted to make accommodations in your training? How did that make
I'm not
feel?
sure. I think he was both relieved and also concerned that he would be singled out, and that this might not be the best way for me to introduce. I was torn how to do it right. So I was wondering, well, hindsight is always 20/20. And once I had said it, I asked myself, maybe I could have asked him one-on-one in the hallway.
Wow, that's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, so your question was, do we find workplaces where they don't know about Ramadan?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And sometimes I also find with some of my clients is they have the best intentions at heart. And just to give you an example, right before COVID, I did a training for an organization that had up in Michigan that had over 25%, and it was a manufacturing a client, and over 25% of their population, of their workforce, was actually Muslim, and they wanted to provide a space for prayers. And what they wanted to do was to have this room that was way out. It took them 10 minutes to walk to this specific site, and not only that, but they wanted to make it into a multi-purpose room where it would be an exercise room and also a prayer room for their 25% plus part of their population. And that just didn't work. and they were going to invest a lot of money. And so when I was doing an audit of their space and their practices, I said, have you involved your Muslim employees on what you're trying to do? And the answer was no. Management thought that was the good thing to do, and they were going about it. And so bringing conversations, having an environment that provides psychological safety to have those conversations makes people feel that they belong to that organization, to this workplace.
So conversation, dialogue, and as we said so many times before, suspend your assumptions and ask a good question.
And be curious, because it's fascinating. And as I've said before, Soumaya is a wonderful teacher, and many like her. She inspires many of us to do the work we do in the right way, in a respectful way. And we want to thank you, Soumaya, for your mentorship, your leadership, your inspiration, as always. And we should have more of this conversation. I think it's great. With I'd love to. I would love to involve your Jewish the friends and Christian friends. It'd be a great conversation to have a panel, right? To discuss.
What a great idea.
This would be fun. This would be fun. So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That is another episode of Two Chaps, Many Cultures. And thank you again for listening. If you've got any questions for Soumaya, please reach out to her. You can find her on LinkedIn and many different places. And I trust, I assure you, it will be a learning experience every day if you engage with the wonderful Soumaya Khalifa. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Soumaya.
We'll talk to you again. And this is Two Chaps, Many Cultures, out for another one, episode 164. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye for now.
Goodbye.